Glad to be back. Thanks for the invite. Let me first share my deck to make sure all of you can see it. Okay, here we go. Well, first, thank you very much for the invite to speak again. Some of you may recall I spoke last year as well, and that was when I just took over the job not too long ago, and I was just charting out my dreams. This year, thanks for the invite coming back, that I can share a little bit more of what has happened since. Along with the theme, and I just watched Anil presenting on Philips, same ideas actually. And I would like to commend a platform like Asian SSON and other SSONs, because where I get most of my inspiration is from you guys in the private sector, frankly speaking. There's a saying that government tends to be a bit behind, but now I want to show you that how we've incorporated some of these ideas into what we do, and hopefully through our experience we can continue to share ideas and best practices. I shan't go into this. We are a department formed in 2006. What has happened this year is we celebrated our 15 years, and in line with the shift in the value of a shared services or GPS, we are now appropriately termed as the Central Agency for Corporate Shared Services. Now, this is a very different construct and concept from in the past, where we will see no different, like just as like a transactional service provider providing shared services. Now we are a central agency. What does that mean? I tie it back to what Anil from Philips GPS just said. We want to go up the value chain. We want to do more. We do not just process and produce the goods like a linear means of production, right? We actually we can become a center, a hub of innovation, a hub of technology talent to bring greater value. I put a QR code there if you want to read my 15th anniversary speech on my LinkedIn, and feel free to connect. Please go ahead. Key statistics, just to give you a sense of where and how we operate. We only at about 500 strong, probably can grow by a couple of hundred more next few years as we take on more business from our government agencies, serving more than 100,000 public offices, more than 100 agencies. Indeed, coming into our 15th anniversary, we realized that in terms of our transactions, in terms of our timeliness, in terms of errors, which are very, very low, and in terms of overall customer satisfaction, we've already achieved very, very good levels, very decent levels that we will want to continue to maintain and even improve. But when you think about it, what more value can we bring to our ecosystem? Can we think of more? Can we think of being something bigger? So just this map just gives you where we stand in our ecosystem. I mean, we have policy owners on the left. We have all our service partners. We indeed don't call them customers. We used to call them customers, but we don't want to call them customers anymore because we are part of one government. That's the good thing about the Singapore government. So the ministries I serve, the statutory boards I serve, we're actually part of one government. When they give work to me, they're actually insourcing within the government system. So last year I talked about emerging stronger from COVID, and I again put the QR code. You can go read it and then compare what I said last year versus what I said this year, what I'm going to say this year. And along the way, what I found extremely interesting and useful, indeed, thanks to SSON for opening my eyes, is, I've had a chance to get interviewed by various platforms, various magazines and online journals about what Vital is doing in terms of leading change. And this is one example where another publication interviewed me, and you can check out the YouTube here, where it talks about leading the RPA, government's RPA shift from Vital. Why I share this here is with you is because it really resonates. What Anil just now said just now really resonated with me. At our center, in terms of what we do, there's so much more opportunities to do even more, to lead shifts, right? In my case, I'm leading a government shift. In most of you coming from the private sector, you'll be leading the shift for your company as part of usually sit as part of a larger outfit. You can see yourselves, and we ought to see ourselves as to have that position and to have the mandate as well, to push and to lead change, which excites me a lot, which excites my organization a lot. Just a snapshot of the journey to show you that really 15 years from 2006 brings us to 2021. And what we have spent the last year doing is really reframing our thinking, right? No longer do we want to be just that corporate shared services provider. We call it a linear means of production. We want to do more. So we were given a mandate as the central agency to manage and transform shared services delivery within the whole of government. Concurrently, we're also given an equally heavy responsibility of becoming the robotics and automation lead. Sounds like this huge name, right? Robotics and automation. But in order to scope it properly, it's just that leader in all the automation tools within my domain. My domain will be provision of finance, HR, procurement services. But the magic here is this, right? When we take on the leadership role, we bring in new technologies, we experiment, we scale. We are not coming from like an external viewpoint and coming up with technologies and telling our partners what they should use. I always tell my staff that we need to use what we believe in first. We need to experiment and pilot it within our organization first, and then show it to the rest of the agencies that, hey, there is this technology that could be applicable to your domain too. And what are their domains? I mean, every government in the world, all the various ministries will have to be doing much operational work, right? Operational needs, service centers, frontline work, their own area of operations, which of course Vital is not set up to help them. But remember this, right? The kind of technologies, platforms, and systems we use in Vital are actually very similar to what they can use, what they should be looking at. So we can play that intellectual leadership and showing them the way, even if we are not going to take on their work. So when you think of it that way, then Vital going forward, when we chart out our strategic map and priorities, the areas that you can value add to the ecosystem changes, right? It's no longer just providing those services at the base and delighting them because we are so quick, so fast, and so error-free. That's just, to me, now the basic, the hygiene factor, what's expected of us. But now we want to harness OpsTech innovation. With operations, we want to harness the technology to innovate, not just within ourselves, but also show others how they can innovate. We want to facilitate policy improvements and implementation upstream. We want to uphold the governance. I think the governance issues, especially in any government setup, I'm sure equally important in the private sector setup, is so important for us because the more they centralize and give us the work, they can rest easy, they can sleep easy, they can focus. The 100 ministries I serve, they can sleep easy that their finance and HR and procurement services are well performed at the center. At the same time, they can focus then on all the other things they need to do, whatever their mission may be. So I'll just pause a little bit on this slide because this construct, which is extremely new, by the way, probably only about a month old, kind of puts together our aspirations at Vital. And it may surprise or even shock some of you because when I first read, I was thinking, are we serious? But I think we're bought into it by now. Right at the center is we want to be that globally recognized leader for corporate shared services, right? We deliberately put the word recognize here because we have no intentions to become a global leader where we are the largest shared services outfit in the world. No. Our mandate and our role within the Singapore government is very clear. My turf, my area is the Singapore government ministries, statutory boards, and other government agencies. But we want to be recognized, right, by all of you, especially in the private sector, to be a leader. Why? Because that keeps us on our toes. That tells us that if people want to talk to us, invite us to speak at these conferences, want to exchange ideas with us, it tells us that, look, there is something we can learn from one another. I think that's key. And that itself is a huge change, right? Huge change from maybe 18 months ago. Because at that time, we were only concerned about doing our work very well and keeping our head low. So we have changed. Now, when you see how we want to achieve that, again, we came up with what we call now the 3 Ps: platform, partners, and people. Let me first talk about platform. In the past, we saw ourselves as a linear means of production, almost like a factory. Going forward, we want to see ourselves as a platform. So no longer are we just that production line. We are that platform for innovation. We're the platform for learning. We're a platform for sharing. We're the platform where all government agencies look to figure out, hey, what are the new technologies that can be brought in terms of in areas of low code, in areas of digitalization, in areas of finance and HR processing. It ties very nicely with Anil. Sorry, I keep calling you Anil from Philips GPS. What they're trying to do as a center of innovation, it's the same idea actually, except that we just quoted learning from best practices in private sector, as well as when you think about it, in the COVID era in digitalization, which are the companies that have incredible returns in the past year in terms of stock market shares going up, in terms of valuation. They're all platform plays. Think of your Zoom as a video conferencing platform. Think of your Airbnb in the past that worked so well. Think of Shopee, the shopping platform. Think of Grab, Uber. Yeah, so the aha moment for us as an organization was, look, yes, we are not private sector. We are not here to make money and justify profits and loss, but what are the concepts that we can bring in and learn from these very, very successful companies that came up from nothing, right? They are not the traditional resource exploitation or building large properties, property tycoons. They're not. They created something. They created something in a platform that everybody used. So that aha moment then came about to us is, look, we are at the center. Every government agency needs HR services, finance services, procurement services. So we can become that platform, right? So that part then leads to the next P called partners, because we know, and we cannot become super big as an organization. In order to ensure that we continue to deliver value on the platform scale, we need many, many partners. So my people have now been looking for partners within the service, because there are other organizations within the public sector that are very good at what they do, like in training. We have the Civil Service College. We have other agencies looking at certain areas. We look for win-wins. And more crucially, and this is a conference to the world, we need partners from outside the government, from private sector, from industry leaders, from tech leaders, from like-minded GBS shared services to expand, understand, facilitate, even collaborate, especially when it comes to technology. And finally, people. People here is a great passion of mine, because in order to do all the digitalization, the tech, the going up from become operations to tech, and I look at my workforce, wow, first thing you may wonder, very challenging. Do I then now have to go out and hire a huge army of IT trained PhD holders to do data analytics and predictive modeling? I mean, I could hire one or two, but what about the rest of my a few hundred staff that are really my loyal, good workers on the ground? We need to resize, reskill, reshape them. We need to bring them up. We need to invest in them. And we need to ensure that this whole digital world we're talking about, there is something for them as well. And through that is really the usage and development of technologies in the low-code space, in the RPA space, in the AI, in the machine learning space. There's plenty of new cloud-based technologies coming out in the low-code domain, which I personally think we can harness in the government and give and train our people to be able to become manager of bots, to become manager of AI solutions, manager of machine learning. The possibilities are incredible, but only if we, one, open their eyes and motivate them to do so, and two, make the necessary investments to allow them to do so. And that is what at Vital we are trying to do. This strategy map, again, elaborates on what I just spoke about just now, so I shan't jump into the details. Can leave it for a short bit, and you can watch the recording if you want to look at what goes into the fine print. Putting it all together, then we have a house with the three pillars: platform, partners, and people. Okay, so when I move on and talk about the system and the Vital, where we lie within the system, within the government, I think Vital is very fortunate that there is a whole push within the Singapore government for many years now to have very efficient systems, digital to the core, end to end. So some of the systems I put here, like HRP system, which is a new HR payroll system which we are just rolling out, a cloud ERP system that we are also rolling out for statutory boards, other initiatives to do digital corporate shared services. All these are being driven from the center and from other like-minded agencies within the whole of government. So it is not Vital driving everything. That's impossible for me to do or for us to do. But really a whole ecosystem of change that's happening within the Singapore government in terms of digitization. And all of us in the government have been told that you really must think in our respective agencies. Every CEO must look at the agency and say, look, what does it mean for me to be digital to the core, right? Right down to the very last normal wet ink signatures kind of issue. And when you go digital to the core, it's not just about changing from paper to Excel, paper to Word. You're looking at reframing and redesigning your entire business processes. So in that case, again, Vital is very happy that we are part of this journey with the rest of the Singapore government, because we can continue to rely on many of the initiatives that are put from the center. Let me move on to more specific within Vital, what we are trying to do and some kinds of technologies we hope to bring on the process on. So we have a national digital identity in Singapore, which really helps us because then we do not have to figure out this person, what is the true identity. We are looking at AI for cloud solutions. We are upgrading and enhancing our in-house infrastructure. We have this system which we now term as Vision. I mean, I'm sure all of you have a case management system. We do have one currently, which is a little bit antiquated, but going forward is how to rely on low-code platforms and cloud technologies to do more virtual agents, to do analysis, to do analytics, to use intelligent bots. In order to get to this, it wasn't just a simple let me buy a new system and implement. We actually also did a service design project. And now service design and looking at issues from the customer perspective becomes so important for us. Right? Everything when my staff, in terms of proposal, when my staff put up a proposal, I say, have we looked at the customer journey? Have we looked at the service design journey? So we actually spent a good 9 months doing a service design project for a new CRM system to make sure that indeed we are going to roll out something that both internal staff want and our service partners want. Definitely is a very, very useful thing because then with the outcome of the service design project, we can then go to tender. Internally, we are also rejigging and rolling out a new system for internal knowledge management and workflows. We call it Nexus. So 2 big systems, CRM, internal workflows, all parallel, concurrently being rolled out almost at the same time. Okay, so going ahead, what next after I roll out those systems and in fact, in an agile manner, we think that for us, the future is really in cloud because there's so much in the domains of finance, HR, procurement. There's so much that already has been developed or is being developed in the private sector. So we want to bring that in. The next big thing we really want to focus on is the concept of the citizen developer. As I mentioned earlier, I have a large team, 300, 400 staff doing operational works. They are ops. How do they become ops tech? To me, the strategies, train them all up, right? Train them all up, not just to use automation, but to become citizen developers for Vital. And I think it can be done if we make the correct interventions in terms of training and bringing in the correct technologies. Okay, let me proceed. Just a snapshot of our automation journey so far, very quickly, and I'll bring you to the end of the presentation. This is where we are in terms of our automation roadmap. I think really we are probably only at about number 2, moving on to number 3 at the moment. But 3 and 4 will be the real game changers. And number 3, you're talking about the automation and citizen development. So that will really scale up and enable my staff to be so much more productive. In Singapore, we have no shortage of manpower. All of you know that. And as a government, I also have limitations in, I can only hire Singapore citizens and maybe a few permanent residents. So each of my staff, I have to view them as real precious resource. And how then am I going to amplify and augment each staff so that this person can be 5 times, 10 times more productive? It's not about working them to the bone and 24/7. It's about giving them new tools to grow their productivity. Right. So some automation journey milestones. I mean, we've moved from attended to unattended bots in 2019, and going forward, we want to scale it up even more. Okay, the next few slides just show you pretty much some of our learning points from the various automation journeys. And I thought it's useful to just put it out there. So I'm sure it's relevant to many of you and really look forward to greater exchange and also discussion on how to take things better. So my staff nicely put for me on the left what we were told, on the right what we realized. So really, we really were going into RPA, and most of this is on RPA at the moment. We thought that it would be a silver bullet. It would be so easy to do, but you can see that there is lots of work that you need to first identify the right processes. You make sure you cannot automate inefficiencies, and you want to do end-to-end automation. It's really quite complex, right? So easier to start automating tasks from the start. Managing the system, managing the RPA solutions we bring into our legacy systems were also very complicated, right? So I now do have a dedicated team focusing on it. And sometimes when we have internal upgrades to our system, the whole RPA script will just break and people will just get very flustered. But now we know that's part of the course, right? We really need to be able to figure out and have a process on how to do it properly. Moving from RPA, how do we upskill, upgrade staff? This was a really a big challenge I had in my mind for many, many years. Fortunately, the industry has moved on so fast. If you look at the low-code solutions coming out today, it's so much easier than just 3 to 4 years ago, right? So this is where Vital wants to put in our emphasis. First, of course, we cannot train our staff to do the standard RPA developer software. We just be way too difficult for them. We need to start them easy, start them slow with low and no code solutions, which there are many, and I shan't name any companies here, but there are many, just to get them to try and to use it. So along with all the initiatives, there are many multi-pronged approaches we need to take, right? Awareness and change, improving accessibility to knowledge, etc. Just some snapshots from what we've been doing in Vital, and this has been going on over years, right? Brown bag sessions, putting up videos of staff telling the rest of the organization, or showcasing their bots to the rest of the organization, and hearing staff stories and people stories really, really help, because it makes it possible. You want to democratize the technology, right? In Vital, the 300, 400 class. We want to make it clear that it is for everybody. It's not just for the IT folks, right? Because this whole concept of a citizen developer journey, a citizen developer requires every staff to own it, to learn it, and to execute it at your own local level. So this framework pretty much shows you where we think different parts will fit, right? And I'm also challenging my staff to think about, right? Maybe we used to think that we will have the largest base of automation users and the mid base of citizen developers. But as the cost of developing the concept, I think really the whole citizen developer centerpiece should be much bigger. They should form the entire base of the organization as well. So again, I show you the progression in our thinking. Coming back to the part where Vital is a platform, we create bot libraries, we create digital first portal, which we intend to open the whole of government, so that other parts and other agencies, which in government, we have our own intranet system, they can come in, read success stories and share scripts. So you see that the kind of innovation work we do can become an instant reference and resource for the rest of the government in Singapore. I think that is so powerful, and that really will amplify the good work we are here. And also we will invite our fellow government agencies to share their success stories on our platform. So we become that platform for innovation, which is really exciting. Just some statistics of what we have trained and what we have done so far, but clearly it's not enough. Clearly we need to ramp it up even faster, because in my mind, all 300, all 400 of my staff can become citizen developers. Very exciting for us, but indeed it's going to take a while in terms of investing in them, sending them back to school, as well as investing in technologies that all of them can touch and use. And so as we look into the future, and this is actually my last slide, I just want to reiterate and again thank SSON and all of you for all those presentations and giving us at Vital in the government agency all the great ideas. It's really, for our area of work, we're clear is cloud first. Cloud first, not because we don't have the capability to build in bespoke systems, we do, but cloud first because we want to harness the best practices and the best technologies from the cloud. The speed at which all these new technologies come about is amazing. So internally, we also do have to architect our platforms differently, because government tends to have certain security protocols and other kinds of confidentiality of data, which some may be a little bit more onerous at times. So my CIO has an incredible, difficult job in order to manage that. Leveraging on central platforms, exploration, and learning from thought leaders is all the things that we want to do. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I hand it back to you, Manoj.
Dennis, thank you so much for the session. You know, the Singapore government itself is so inspiring to see how they run the country, especially when you travel around the world. There's some questions that are at least coming to my mind, and of course, if there are questions from the audience, we'd love to take them as well. Given that you're a government-run agency, do you have the same problems of attrition like the private sector has?
Oh yes, of course. Historically, my attrition is one of the highest, if not the highest, within the public sector, because of the nature of the work we do, and also because I think people look at us and ask themselves, you know, why would they want to work for an organization if we were just doing processing work? But I'm glad to say that as we start to invest in more technologies and again to create a greater value and career proposition for our staff, I think our attrition rates should be improved over time. We are competing with talent from everybody, so it's really a common problem everywhere.
Got it. Now, given the theme that this is a robust process and system foundation ready to support scaling transformation, if you were to reverse the clock back, are there any mistakes you feel you've made, which you wish you hadn't made?
Well, I think we could have moved earlier. Yeah, to step up and to take ownership of certain areas of work. But no, I think I like what you said just now. We are kind of one of those that are a bit late in the game, in a way that we have seen the GBSs of the world mature and deliberately slow, because from a government's point of view, typically governments are a little bit more risk averse. So in this area, we wanted to see how the industry was maturing, whether the applicable lessons or whether we needed to do our own thing. So the good thing for me is I'm learning all the lessons from the private sector leaders and just adapting it into my own systems. Hopefully we can have some innovative ideas to share that the rest of you can maybe go away thinking about it. Yeah, not bad an idea. But yeah, right now let us catch up first. If we can ever leapfrog, I'll be very proud of Vital.
As I said, there's a lot to learn from Singapore and the way they run themselves. So I'm sure there's a lot to learn from you in the subsequent conferences. Like to say thank you to you, Dennis. It's been great to have you. Like as we said last year also, with every conference, we also see the evolution of thinking, the evolution of execution and delivery. And I'm sure our audience is benefiting from it. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah. Bye-bye.